I was basically just bragging about how nice that museum is. It's a really good museum.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's fantastic, and yeah, I love the aviation museum. So it was, and the company was perfect. So yeah,
Thank you.
it was a wonderful day. Yeah.
Jeff and I have been chatting for about 15 minutes already.
Oh
about some
damn
things
it!
that-
You didn't ping me.
I did
you
on
did?
Discord, yes.
Well, damn, and I was going to the bathroom, like getting my snacks and getting my books
There you
ready.
go.
And all that.
Here, okay.
Awesome.
That's it. I'm pulling up the Wikipedia entry. Yeah, I told the danger here is, of course, we're going to be talking about stuff that's 25, 30 years ago.
I-
So
that's okay.
I know.
I'm gonna ask to buy a vowel several times.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Yep.
I want to make sure they can hear us already in the
Okay,
chat,
good.
Twitch chat.
I need to log into chat. Have the stuff.
Good.
ready
All right.
here.
Thanks, Cathay. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yep.
I'll burn through the ads here. I mean, I'll burn
Sure.
through them. I'll burn through Reaper and all the other ones.
Give them their time. They're supported.
They are. That's true,
Yeah.
Jeff. But they're all good people, which is a great
Yeah.
thing, So
That's one of the nice things about our industry.
yeah, definitely. So we got some good things
Yeah.
going to be happening tonight too. So
Pause the chat here. So there we go. Yep. Now I'm ready. Get off the video.
a lot of people on already. As before,
Oh,
Jason Zavodi just said, "Hey, sometimes Jay starts early." So
yeah.
Yes. Always starts early.
I always try and start a little early there once we're ready to rock and roll. See, Jeff, we had back in about 2 years ago, before he passed, we had Leonard on. We had Leonard on like 40 times. Remember
Yeah.
Kafka? And he would just, it was to the point where he would just show up right in the middle of a stream or whatever, and then
Oh
talk
yeah,
a
he
little
just
bit and
showed up,
steer.
and then when after he had his minutes and said anything, he just popped out, logged out,
Yeah.
logged
Yeah.
away.
But
Yeah, so he came and went.
But Len would come on before we'd start the stream, and he just started talking as if the stream was going on. So I was like, "Whoop! I got to go live." So I just hit the button, started up, and
he was-
that's kind of that's kind of the history with that. So we were blessed.
We miss him.
We were really
dearly.
blessed.
Yeah.
We missed him a lot. He was a great friend.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
He was one of the first.
It was kind of an honor for Leonard to say no right to you. One word answer with a question. No.
So Jeff, what were you going to say? You started to say something.
Actually, the first thing I did for TSR was a D&D open tournament, and when I was heading it up, and I had 3 other designers and he did.
Wow.
Jim is also responsible for the urban myth that if you say Haster 3 times, it may manifest in front of you.
Oh.
But he put that into that wasn't anything that was in the Cthulhu mythos until it showed up.
I did not know that. Wow. There we go. You just gave us one. Wow.
I gave you
Didn't
a
know
little
that.
factoid.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Oh,
That
that's
is-
so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And hear later on the Bloody Mary stories, and look in the mirror and say the name 3 times. I was wondering, did that descend, or did it basically come out of
Yeah.
that? And he added that piece to the whole.
Oh, that's
So,
so.
Haster was a battle cry in our gaming group. So
See, that will end up on the silver screen one day, or in a TV series, or you never know, something like that.
we can have hopes,
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the stills from the D&D movie on Facebook. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh my God, the bad guy has the same look as the original D&D movie. They're really going harking back to that. So
there might be a few good breadcrumbs to fish from it, so to speak. Maybe.
Yeah,
but very
see
few.
how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I know nothing so about what's going on with the film.
Exactly. So yeah, in a way,
well,
it's
I'm
good.
speculating with everybody else.
Yep.
Well, it's got to be better than the Jeremy Iron ones, right?
I hope so. Ideally, hope so.
He was rolled up to 11. Okay. I wrote an adventure based on the D&D movie.
No way, really?
It never saw
after the movie?
No, I forget. It was like certain sequences within the movie. There's an introductory adventure, and it was never saw the light of day in print, but I believe it was added as a bonus feature to the DVD release.
Okay.
Does anyone have the Dungeons and Dragons DVD? I know. I think I have it somewhere downstairs.
I mean,
I have that DVD too, sitting here somewhere.
Go look and see if there's something in there, because like they had like the shots that had Dave Arneson in it, and but apparently they had that as well.
I need to look at that.
I have not gone looking for it. It was not my greatest.
Oh, but that's an awesome. I have to dig into it, because I don't know exactly where I must be here somewhere, because I think it made it from Sweden over to California 10 years ago when I moved. So I think so, with all my other D&D stuff.
The Easter eggs, yeah, Morpheus.
Yes.
I turned down the background music so you guys can hear, because normally we're just gabbing here a little bit behind. But I know this is a very interesting conversation, so
you can revisit it as you see fit. So.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is our 150th Gabbin, Anna.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
But I haven't
Time
been part of
flies.
everyone.
Thank
It
you.
must be my 110th or something like that.
Yeah, and the good thing is it's just we just did our 100th Legends and Lore, which we have on Wednesday nights, Jeff, and that is that's more Greyhawk based. That's really getting into the lore of Greyhawk. On Gabbin mostly, and almost anything goes.
Yeah.
So,
I have contributed in a mild way to the Greyhawk universe too. So.
Oh yes, you have.
Okay.
I'm very interested to hear that too.
All right, everyone, welcome another wonderful guest tonight. So we got a legend of the game here. I cannot wait to get into this conversation, even though we've already really started it here. So, and everyone's listening to Jeff Grubb, and here you can put a little entry screen. I'm actually excited about one of the 3 things on here that's not a campaign setting, but a book, because when we were my age, and we'll talk about that, but getting a book turned into a computer game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is just like, that was, and the SSI Gold Box was like the shit back then, right? That was like
Gold Box series was fantastic.
That was like what? Hey, Wiley,
is great.
we're coming on 3 minutes early today, everyone.
Okay.
There we go. We're coming on.
Because we
3
have
minutes.
way too much to talk about.
We got way too much to talk about. Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm J.K. Lord Gazumba. With me, as always, the great Anna Meyer.
Hello.
And tonight, please welcome Jeff Grubb. Jeff, thanks for coming on tonight. And we've already started the conversation. Yes, Jeff is. When I was doing my research for this, I was like, wow, and I just went on and on and on. Jeff, you've. I think everyone wants to know how it started, but you got your hands on almost everything in that early TSR era, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And wonderful. But how did you start? How did you get started in this industry?
Well, how to get started in D&D?
Oh, yeah.
I basically played war games in junior high. I had subscription to Strategy and Tactics magazine, and we had friends that played the Avalon Hill games and all of that. And when I got to college, there was Purdue University, and they had the Purdue University Wargaming Club. And one time I showed up at the meeting, and there were the tankers there who were laying out their tank miniatures, and a couple people playing World War I flying games. And off in the corner there was a group of people who didn't have a board out, didn't have miniatures up. They had a whole bunch of dice, and they were yelling at each other. And I walked over and asked what's going on, and somebody shoved 3 6-sided dice into my hands and said, "Here, we need a cleric." And that was the beginning of just getting involved in D&D. It was, for at my level at that time, it was the 3 little books in the brown box, the brown wood grain box, and Greyhawk, and that's what we had as our source material. And from that, we built my campaign setting. I had a big mega dungeon, and I soon had the Friday night dungeon slot. So I would run Friday nights at the Wargaming Club, and it was the campaign setting you could bring your girlfriend to, because I wouldn't do anything horribly embarrassing for that. So we had a nice mixed bunch of people playing,
Wonderful.
and we had and from that, one of our members, we were talking about him earlier, Dave Collins, his family had a house up on the lake in Lake Geneva.
Oh.
And so as a result, we would come to Gen Con, which was right before school began. We'd stay at the lake, and then we'd drive out to Kenosha, which is where the convention was at that time. And from there, we got involved with running the D&D Open under Bob Blake. And this was like before the RPGA got started. And one year, one of my friends, after running a tournament, basically said in a very loud voice, "We could do a better job than the people who wrote this." To which Blake was in earshot, wheeled on his heels, and said, "Congratulations, you volunteered to write the next season's AD&D Open," and we did. I was a civil engineer. I graduated civil engineering from Purdue University, but I was unemployed at the time. I had been working making air pollution control devices, which wasn't a growth industry in the early 80s.
Oh my gosh.
And so I had time, so I was the coordinator, and it was myself, a gentleman named Frank Dickus, Jeff Liebman, and Leonard Lukofka.
Yes.
And on the strength of being able to deliver those adventures play tested, in February, I managed to get hired by TSR, and there's another story involved where basically I was calling them about once a week, seeing how things were going. It was part of my routine for based on looking for a job. So I called TSR, and at one point I was attending a wedding nearby in Indiana, and told them, "Yeah, I'm going to be in the area. Can I drop in?" And I basically drove overshot Indiana to get to Wisconsin, interviewed, and was hired as a result.
May I ask who interviewed you?
Oh, Alan Hammock, I think.
Alan Hammock. Yeah, we just had Alan Hammock on a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Alan Hammock was my first boss.
Okay.
For the company.
Yeah.
And on the strength of that, I was in the old Hotel Claire, which was not the first foundation place where they have the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum now, but it was down the corner in downtown Lake Geneva, 3-story old hotel. Falling down. It's now been renovated. It looks real nice. There's a chocolate shop where the Dungeon Hobby Shop used to be. But I was on the 3rd floor with a great view, and holes in the ceiling where people had fallen through the roof.
I've heard some stories, and that was the days before TSR had grown big, and before everybody knew about D&D and stuff. So
it was just at that point where it was growing out, where basically they had bought the old carton factory up on Sheridan Springs Road.
Okay, so they were ramping up
and they were renovating it. We were there about, I'd say, 3 months for me, and then we relocated into the vault, which was right above the assembly area. It was a windowless area in the warehouse area. This is, by the way, for those listening, this was a building that had the reputation of being the largest warehouse in southeastern Wisconsin, which is a factoid. It's a fact only because there's so many qualifiers on it. And that was the headquarters of that, and several additional buildings around was the headquarters for TSR for many, many years. So that's where we moved into, and then later on we moved across into the main building itself, and and then after that I went freelance for a little while. So
you relocated to Lake Geneva?
Yeah.
I relocated to Lake Geneva.
Okay.
I came out, drove out. We got an apartment. I was engaged. I wasn't married to Kate yet, and we, which was amusing because I had permission to because basically I was going to get the job, and then 6 months later we get married, because who knows, the job may not work. But as a result, everything was going well, and I had permission to leave TSR early to go drive down to Chicago and catch a plane back to Pittsburgh. And so a snowstorm came in, and it was one of those situations where no one had permission to send everybody home. The people with the authority were like not in the building; they were on the West Coast or something. So therefore, nobody could leave the building officially except Jeff, who was basically driving to Chicago ahead of this blizzard in order to fly back to get married. So,
Oh, wonderful! Yeah.
So when you got hired by TSR, did you start with? I was trying to figure it out. Did you start with the Marvel? Is that where you?
No.
Okay, you did not start there. Okay.
My first one and first project, and those were ones that actually are showing up in the lower corner here.
Okay. Yeah.
Is Burn Bush Wells.
Yeah, I saw. Yes. Let me
which
pop
was
that up.
a Boot Hill module where Alan Hammock did a town, and Brian Bloom did an outdoor encounter sheet chart. And my job was to merge the two of them together. So we had the town of Burn Bush Wells. I may have it completely backwards as far as who designed what.
Okay.
But, and that's a Larry Elmore cover, the first Larry Elmore cover I got. It was really, and it really was a nice thing. That was one, but that was the first published.
Okay.
The first written, I believe, was, because I remember writing on both of these back in the old hotel, was Maze of the Riddling Minotaur, M2. A magic marker module. Yes.
Oh,
Tim
yeah, I remember them with the red thing that so you could see the print. No, not that one. Not that one. Okay,
this is the magic crystal ones were later.
I don't think I had any of them. Okay.
Yeah, this came with a pen that allowed you to basically, have the secret writing, and then you take the pen and you'd scribble over it, and it would make the writing reveal.
Oh,
now the problem is the pens would dry out, and after a while the paper would fade enough that you could read the secret message in any event. So it was very much a limited time. This was M2. M1 was Blizzard Pass by Zeb Cook.
Yep.
But those were my first, and I believe. No, I want to say M2 was the first one published.
Okay.
I want to say Maze, but they both were designed about the same time. They were written up on typewriters because we didn't have enough computer terminals for everybody. And for the longest time, we had like one mainframe, and everyone had a terminal as opposed to PCs or portable. I had a Mac for many, many years, but we had stuff that was written on an archaic program called TextEdit, which just was a bit of a nightmare, but it was a text cruncher. So
yeah,
I just had a small cat leap into my lap.
Oh, that's okay.
Trust
me.
We had
a game last night. We had cats galore all over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
over
cats and dogs and all sorts of pets.
I
have a doggy here too, but I'm standing up right now, and she's sleeping there. So,
Anna's is standing. So, Jeff, it did say in one location that your first contributory was Monster Manual 2. Is that correct? Where you contribute
first to the D&D, yeah. Monster Manual 2 was I think it's Monster Manual 2, then Unearthed Arcana, then Manual of the Planes. Time. But yes, Monster Manual 2, and I designed a few monsters in there. But what I did primarily was take all the material and again synthesized it down, get it in the same format, etc. Yeah, Modrons.
No way!
Wow!
I did not come up with the concept of Modrons, but what happened was the Monodrome, the first Modron, was I got all the informational, a packet of typewritten pages, and the first one that was really well written up and told what the Monodrome did and what it looked like and what all its stats were. And the second one, that tells what the thing and most of the stats. The third one had a description, and the fourth one had a name. And so to fill out the rest of the Modrons, including up to Primus, by the time I got to him, I was making stuff up. So that's where the whole, and I love the Modrons. I think they're a wonderful little creation. But I did some of those. I did a couple of the daemons, the Trona daemon.
Oina daemon, Arcana daemon.
They are now Loths. So yeah.
Yeah, but they're fantastic. Monster Manual 2 is one of these really, really good books. I think it's one that's stood the test of time for 30 years now. It's fantastic.
It's one in which the creatures that are in it are still being used and still being held up as being, like, this is a good critter. I mean, Modrons went away for a while. In fourth edition, they said they're too silly. We're going to get rid of them, and now they're back. So.
And also, even the art was kind of primitive but good, so to speak. It was a lot of it that was
of the era. I mean, a lot of it
was simple. Primitive is the wrong word, but simple, because they're not full color. It was all black and white, or like grayscale and stuff like that. So even if the production values were limited by today's standards, it still held the test of time. And also the cover is, I think, brilliant. It's
easily
one of these fantastic covers that I think is really classic.
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful.
And I also think it was one of the first book that had this kind of layout with that logo, if I remember correctly.
Official Advanced Dungeons.
Yeah, and had that white logo and the full color in the background, if I remember correctly. Maybe the
Unearthed Arcana from Player's Handbook. No, Unearthed Arcana.
Oh yeah, they came out, but when they made that, went from that kind of really, really old original layout to this kind of stuff, and I love this layout and that logo. It looks to me wonderful. And the orange.
We have a general question from the audience about Modrons. Were they based on the movie novel Flatland?
No, but I have read Flatland. And I understand where that's coming from. It basically is a science fiction utopian novel of basically your protagonist is a square.
Yeah.
And basically 2D world,
Yeah.
and you had it interacts with a point with a line who can't understand 2 dimensions, and at one point it interacts with a 3-dimensional object, and all it can see is a cutaway view.
Yeah.
So I understand whether the origin. I don't think so. Okay, because remember, I didn't do the original work on it. I just added a whole bunch of stuff. But Flatland does have a connectivity there. I kept thinking about dice. So
and even when I saw the Orville, that sci-fi series a couple of years ago, they had a 2D world, and I thought about the Modrons when I saw that episode, and it was like, yes, that would fit perfectly in there. So
wonderful to know that you got some of the daemons in there too, because they're
fantastic. All the feeds from MM2 are simply fantastic. They really held up
and some of the creatures there showed up previously in modules like S4 Sajcom, basically, which had a huge monster book attached to it, and a lot of it. So they basically went from module into a hardback and thereby official. Correct?
Yeah,
absolutely. When I was a kid, what a great adventure that was. That's in my top 3 of all time too. I love that. Love Shokanth. I know I'm going to pronounce everything with that South Jersey accent that we talked about, Jeff. So just know that they're going to get. Everyone's going to be like, you don't understand what you're saying. Yeah. So. But it turns out that Jeff's wife is not far from where I live. I mean,
Camden.
Camden, New Jersey, right? Yeah, 6 miles from where I am right now. So, really.
And she has relatives who ran one of the very popular cheesesteak place there called Donkey's Place. Spelled Donkeys, pronounced Donkey. Yeah. That was just it's gotten all sorts of good. I'll do a quick plug for them right now.
Yeah, absolutely, wonderful. Special. It's all in the bread and the relishes
the spice mix.
Yeah, and all the other stuff that they put on it. Yeah, really, it's nice.
They were kind enough to send some spice mix out once, and we're still going through it. So
out. It's in the outskirts of Camden, there, Hager, not in the dead middle of Camden. So, all right, don't worry.
Donkey's one is. Definitely, the cops come in, they basically leave the engine running, just so you know.
Yeah, it's we won't get into that right now. So, but it's a great cheesesteaks. So Jeff, as things continue, who gave you, like, did you get promoted, or did they say, hey, we want you to take on more projects? Because at this point you've done those, and you've gotten to the manual. 87 appears to be the golden year for you. I was looking. No, and this is 87, and also this is 87, right?
Yes.
So, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but could you talk about how Forgotten Realms came about?
Well, sure. To answer your first question, the idea is over time we grew and we took a lot of additional responsibilities on. And about 87 is about a time when I became more of a product manager, which was a position that really didn't. I still was a game designer that didn't really, but basically responsible for a line and basically helping oversee it at that time. So Forgotten Realms came out of Dragonlance, of course. I worked on that as well. Was very popular. It was making the New York Times. It was basically, Times bestseller list. It was, really doing well. But management was kind of concerned to say, okay, what happens next? We're going to get to the end of the story, and then we'll be done. We need something else. And I was the poor schmuck who basically said, Ed Greenwood has been writing articles for Dragon Magazine for years now. And he was featuring Elminster comes and talks about Seven Swords of the Realms and everything. Why don't we, see what's available for him? And they said, okay, Jeff, you don't go do that. You go make the offer. Okay, fine. And now Ed had been writing articles for Dragon Magazine. He'd written fiction in this world. When D&D came along, he started running adventures in this world. He started writing adventures, writing articles. And what he would do is he would basically, write a whole framing device where Elminster shows up in his kitchen and drinks his beer and tells him about Seven Swords of the Realms or Seven Mystic Scrolls. And he sent it in. The editor would basically take out all the stuff and just print the seven Swords of the Realms. And eventually they just said, okay, we're just going to print the rest of it. So that's how Elminster was revealed to the rest of the world, is he started showing up in these Dungeon Magazine articles. And I called up Ed, and he's a librarian in Colborne, Ontario. And I said, Ed, we were just curious, do you have like a more of a world behind this other than just these articles? Because you've done really well with these. And he said, well, I always thought that TSR owned all that because, of course, I sold it to them. Okay.
Don't say that.
I'm not going to tell anybody. You just said that. What we'd like to do is buy it from you, lock, stock, and barrel, and use it as a foundation of a new world.
Yeah, if you were the evil corporate overlord, you would have just taken him on that.
We paid him a small amount of money.
Yeah.
A computer without a hard drive.
Oh my gosh.
A year later, we bought him a hard drive because things were going so well, and a promise that we would publish his novel set.
Yeah.
And so he started sending me stuff, and this was mailed from Canada. This was early days of Federal Express type of stuff. We basically got onto Federal Express after it took too long for it to come through the regular mail. But I would receive these packages, and they were like, open the package and it'd be wrapped in brown paper. Okay, and you open the brown paper, and it would basically be this heavy Canadian cellophane that you could use for cold proofing winter proofing your windows type thing. Okay, and under that was more paper that was wrapping it up, and under that there was the manuscript, and there was a 3.5-inch floppy disk, which was also wrapped in heavy cellophane and foil and paper. And literally, I'd get a package, and I'd just spend 15 minutes ripping it apart. And one of the editors, Ann Brown, in the next cube over, would shout, "New package from Ed, eh?" And I go, "Yeah." And this was material that he had, built for his campaign. This was basically stuff. At one point, his T key malfunctioned, so he basically, would write a page and then, on a typewriter, and then draw in the T's. So it was looked like a little tiny graveyard, of all these little crosses. And he would, take pages and he would photocopy them, and he would basically, move them around and cut them up and put them back together and photocopy that. And so he had all sorts of material. This was very much from his personal campaign.
Yeah.
And he sent the map of the realms that he had, the original map, in 24 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. And I assembled it and put it outside my door, and that one currently Gamehole. Alice
Oh, yes.
has,
I've seen that map.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
map.
Yeah.
Okay, you know how it's got all the coastlines are
It's
in blue
beautiful.
highlighter,
Yeah,
and
it's
all the.
yeah.
I did the color. I drew all. I
Oh,
drew all. the-
okay, but it is fantastic map in its own
Mhm.
right. It's you can
It
tell
is.
it's original, but it's still
Yes.
kind of wow. It's yeah.
And you'll notice if you haven't seen the map that we redrew parts of it. We
Mhm.
redrew the Moonshae Isles, for example. It was originally more like an Earthsea
Yeah.
archipelago. I forgot to get pronounced. Archipelago. There we go. Anyway, we Doug Niles at that point had a half-written book that he was working on with TSR UK, which was going to be. They wanted to do the British Dragonlance. And he was halfway through the book, and they closed down TSR UK from a creative standpoint. So he had a half-written book and no place to put it. And we said, "Come on over. We're busy. We can't write a book." And so Darkwalker and Moonshade became the first Forgotten Realms book.
Okay.
And on the base, and Bob did the second, and Ed got the third, and then Kate and I got the fourth, which was Azure Bombs.
Right. Yep.
So that's like the potted history, right?
Yeah. So what? Why wasn't that they thought about having to do something else? Meaning, from my very limited business perspective, is that if you have a huge success like Dragonlance, why not develop that into a full-blown game setting?
They were basically we weren't set up for that as far as building the world.
Okay.
We built a very nice world and everything, but we were telling it the story through the modules, and we were going to get to the end of the modules. And the question is, oh my God,
Okay.
what then?
Yeah.
The idea of doing a second trilogy was still gestating.
Yeah.
The idea of actually getting through the first trilogy. I mean, they asked when we originally pitched Dragonlance, and this is Tracy's story, really. Tracy laid out the plot, and we laid out all, where we're going, and or the big map was sort of like, our outline, and here now the third book of the War of the Lance, and they said, "This is really good. We're going to take it and give it to a real author and let them write the novels." And they went to real authors, and I've heard names bandied about, but I've never seen any confirmation. But they looked at it, and they heard about the deal and what they were offering, and they laughed politely and said no. So they came back to Tracy and said, "Okay, you can write the novel, but you have to have a published author as a co-writer." Now, we had hired a new editor. Her name was Margaret Weiss. And she had published a young adult book, I think, on Jesse James. So she qualified. She qualified as a. I mean, she shows up. She shows up first day, and she's got an autographed picture of Darth Vader on her desk. So we figured, okay, she's gonna fit, So that's what Tracy and Margaret basically were that originally put it together. Team Supreme worked out incredibly well. The first trilogy was very much, what Tracy had, laid out. The second trilogy had a lot more Margaret in the plot and the time of the twins. Raceland. Okay, here's another story.
Oh,
Raceland.
great.
I am responsible for his gold skin and hourglass eyes.
Oh.
Okay.
During the original creation of Dragonlance, we had people were throwing ideas and characters in it. Harold Johnson added a wizard and a fighter, and they were brothers. They were twins, and one was a very thin and he was the wasting man, and the other was very bluff and helpful, and he was the caring man. So we get Raceland and Caraman out of that.
Raceland. Wow.
And at the time, we were looking for...
Wow, Carrying Man, Caraman. Okay, wow.
And with my comic book background, that's how I gave him the gold skin and the hourglass eyes. But his voice came out of Terry Phillips, which was they did readings at Kenosha for Dragonlance. This was early stuff. And it was, Tracy and Margaret and Mike Williams and Terry, who was a friend of Tracy's, and he did the Caraman voice, that very whispery type voice. That sort of, that sang right there, And Janet Pack was the first Tasselhoff. Kate in the play tests was the first Caraman. So my wife. I was not a member of the playtest because I had a broken ankle at the time. So she would go down to Tracy's apartment and they play the first couple of sessions of what became DL1.
Wow.
So,
Wonderful.
so
Yeah.
it's just like a mob of very creative people that were brought together at a certain period of time. And this early 80s, mid 80s of Dragonlance and Marvel and the Realms was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, because the Dragonlance was such a huge success, way outside of normal D&D circles. So I'm so surprised, and I always was, that they didn't just make game setting, presented the world, and so on. So made
it came later. It came later.
Exactly. It came later, but
and part of it might be, and well, I think part of one of the challenges they had early on was that why didn't we do a movie back then? And we basically, from the books, because they did not pay incredibly well. They Tracy and Margaret had derivative rights, so basically they had to sort that out.
That's true. Yeah, so they would have been part of the project, but yeah, I guess it's fair because they came up with so much of the story.
They came up with so much of the story, so much of the background, so much of the characters, but shared with other people. But then, and they also had moved on. They were doing Rose of the Prophet. They did that 7-book series for Deathgate.
Yeah.
So they continued to grow as writers as well.
Yeah.
But I still did Ravenloft. They did the Ravenlofts.
Tracy and Laura.
Yeah.
His wife, the infamous Hickman sisters. People assume they were both women. Basically, Tracy had done Ravenloft before he came to TSR. He was selling it. Yeah. He was selling it at conventions. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
And someone found a copy and they sent it up to the creative department. And Mike Gray looked at that and they said, "Does this violate our trademarks?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, all over the place." And it's really good.
Yeah.
You should hire this guy. And so they hired Tracy, and along with that, they basically said, we're going to take Ravenloft and Tomb of Martek and his other stuff. He was cool with that, and so that's how he ended up at TSR.
See,
wow.
Which eventually ended up in the Realms itself, because the Realms was like Velcro. It would absorb anything. One of my manager at one time came into my office and said, "You know what the Realms needs? Zeppelins."
Oh wow! Did
and
Zeppelins ever make it in? No, I hope
not. No. I said Zeppelins, and he said Zeppelins. Go see about putting Zeppelins in the Realms. Like, okay.
Oh God.
And I call up Ed and I said, "Ed, you won't believe what I got here. Well, my boss basically wants to know about Zeppelins." And he goes, "Oh, you must mean the flying ships of Halrua, which was I described in Dragon number 87."
So they were already there.
They were right there. I went down and said, "For you, I got Zeppelins."
That's awesome.
Isn't that wonderful when the boss gives you an assignment and it's already done and you can just go and say it's done? Yeah, I fixed it. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wonderful.
So real quick, back to
this is all back behind the scenes.
Oh sure, but this is the meat. Everyone's going nuts here in chat. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah,
they're going crazy. They're like, "Oh my gosh!"
I'm not seeing it. Okay.
Yeah. I have to ask a question on the Ravenloft then.
Yes.
Ravenloft is on my wall of fame. It's wonderful. I actually even have Ravenloft 2 I-10 on my wall of fame. The one where it splits him. It's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde almost type mix. I saw you had some creative input on that one. Yes. It looked like it's a very interesting and difficult adventure because everyone switches in and out with the townsfolk, all the monsters. What was you remember anything about that when it was in development?
I just did the observatory area.
Okay. With the machine. The machine was in the observatory, wasn't it?
Yeah. But what occurred there is we had a schedule. We had it's going to come out by this certain date, and we got behind. So a group. So we basically, in true, Silicon Valley approach. Hang on, I'm going to close the door here.
That's okay. Take your time.
Mm-hmm. So many.
Give me a second.
Awesome backstories. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I don't want to. My wife's in the background here.
Oh, it's okay.
We threw people at the problem, and I did a section, and Harold did a section, and then somebody else basically brought it all together, and that's where Ravenloft to Griffin Hill came from, and the idea. Now this is not. no slam on Tracy. I was in actually a similar position later on Curse of the Azure Bonds, the game product. Okay, because we had the computer game, we had the novel, we had the computer game. Yes.
Yep.
We had the gold box game. We had the book, and then we were going to write an adventure based on the game, based on the computer game, based on the book. And I got behind the 8 ball, and so about 4 other designers all came in, and we all basically worked through a couple of weeks and basically made that happen. It's gotten a very nice response over the years, but that's the secret story behind Curse of the Azure Bonds. So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. One of the things is we were all, corporate creatives. I still am to some degree. And deadlines were always on top of us as far as we would lay out an entire schedule for the year. And basically, this is how we're going to, basically get the money to keep going. And that was, all this work that was going in all the time. And you see a lot of stuff by the usual suspects, the designers that were in-house, myself, Tracy, Zeb, Doug Niles, Bruce Nesmith, because we were all, basically we were there and we were the manpower to help make that engine go. And that's on the design side. Our editors were absolutely fantastic as well. Michelle Carter, Karen Boomgarden, Ann Brown, Ann Gray. These were, Andrea Hayday, Troy Denning. All of these were just very good, creatives in their own respect, and managed to, serve as product managers to keep things going.
Man.
Yeah, the editor seems to be the unsung heroes of a lot of the stuff in.
I have not heard enough songs about editors, and that's absolutely true. And they do tend to, they as a group, I'd say they don't like to push their own agenda. They don't like to. Steve Winter is a fantastic editor, and if you look at it, if you haven't had him on, you really should. Just because.
Oh yes, we try
so
to. Yeah,
much
we should
stuff.
get him on. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're making those attempts still. We have a couple.
I'll drop a bug in his ear.
That would be awesome.
He's my dungeon master on Monday nights.
Okay, awesome.
What are you playing now? What do you play?
We are playing in our usual suspects. We are playing Caverns of Archaea. Which I believe is a Crunchy Frog. I'm not sure, but basically he was involved in the editing process on it. So we've been running through one of these big mega adventures, and there are about 7 of us in the group. And I just wrapped up for some of the same members, including Steve, our Saturday night game, which was Masks of Nyarlathotep.
Mm-hmm. So what rule system do you use?
We use 5th edition for Archaea. And basically, so Steve is basically manipulating things and saying, basically raising things up to our challenge level and everything. But basically we've been doing a lot of experimenting in 5e as a result. I mean, I played all the editions, and I like all of them for different reasons.
Fair enough.
Well,
that's good to hear. I mean, 5e is so popular now, out there, and but every edition has its pluses, definitely. I still do 1e, 2e, so
and I've started 5e now, so
and that's cool. I mean, everybody finds a place where they are comfortable with, and there are enough differences between the editions that you can basically sink in, and there's enough material, I think, that basically you can feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
I gotta ask this. DM Chromie just said, "What do you like about 4e?"
4e, it is very difficult to run a bad game of 4th edition.
Okay.
That's the good news. The bad news is it's difficult to run a great game of 5e, because often, to run a great game, you're bending the rules. 4e basically, I think, had more balance to it. It basically tried to equalize all of the classes. It addressed a lot of things that people said, these are issues, you should be dealing with them. And having dealt with them, they said, yeah, that's not what we wanted. But that's fair. But I like 4th edition had a lot, and of course, I'm again spoiled. My 4th edition group was run by Bill Slavacek, who was running WotC's design department at the time.
Yeah, I liked 4e initially when I played it, and what I liked about 4e was that Wizards, for the first time, had something to do all the time.
Right.
they
None of the-
never ran cantrips came into the game big time, so to speak, and they had
Cantrips existed for in Unearthed Arcana,
Yep.
Yeah.
way
but
back
they
in one.
were level 0 spells, and they had the
Exactly.
same problem of you have 4 of them. How nice!
Yep.
Now you're done. Goodbye.
Yep.
You know.
And 4th edition kind of made wizards even from first level useful and interesting and fun.
And that carried over into 5th edition as well. You know,
Yep.
4th edition is where you saw the laser cleric.
Yep.
You know, the zap cleric, where basically he's cast his 1 heal, and now he's basically using his holy ray, I believe it was, to basically and going way back in time. When I first started playing D&D, the big goal was get a cleric to 2nd level. Because we didn't have any spells for clerics at 1st level. You had to get to 2nd before you could get your first level spell.
Oh my gosh.
So your survivability factor went up dramatically as soon
Yep.
as you had someone who could cast a heal on the fighter.
Jeff, I have a question out here that I don't know the answer, but I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
Does any of your DMs that you've played with, big names, ever stream any of the games for the public to watch?
No.
Okay.
No.
That was a question from the audience.
None of them are streaming. We're mostly grognards. So, it's, yeah.
I'm as old as you.
Yeah, I'm
pretty
just
old.
trying to think of anybody who's, but no, we actually, because of the pandemic, a lot of us have gotten into playing on Discord or playing on Roll20 over the past year. I mean, before that, it was very much in person as far as our games were concerned. Now, I really think streaming is kind of exciting, and I've watched a lot of streaming, and I think that's just like, again, it's one of those things like, we talked about Dragonlance. It got us into the bookstores. We got to talk about Marvel superheroes. It got us into the comic book shops. What streaming has done is it's gotten D&D onto a lot of screens and to a whole market basically that's no longer watching television, but will watch Binging with Babish or basically the various D&D streamers, the critical hits and everything. And that is just wonderful because it, of course, again, expands out. The best way to learn to play a role-playing game is to watch someone playing a role-playing game.
Yep.
To have somebody teach you in person. I've written enough, of the what is role playing paragraphs in the beginning of projects to basically know the frustration of trying to explain it to somebody who comes in cold. But you watch them play that, whether it's something out of WotC or some independent, and you start getting an idea of this is the type, this is the rhythm, this is what's supposed to happen. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to throw in stuff. So.
And I could never imagine that D&D could be a sport, a spectator sport, so to speak, or a spectator hobby that you actually could tune in and want to watch, because I never thought it was interesting to watch anyone else play. And I must say, Twitch made that actually interesting. And
last night, Anna, it was a spectator sport last night.
Yeah, yes. Now it's fantastic. It's so much fun to do it. It's and both to participate, but also to watch
so
it.
Awesome.
And you also get a chance to peek in so many other ways of playing the game. So you can learn and be inspired from others, and you can see great DMs, great players, and you can kind of, that's a great way of doing it. So you borrow and steal and get inspired from other people's way of running the game.
Now, our group would be horrible for streaming. We digress. We argue.
But it's so good to
tell bad jokes. We are the land of dad jokes. It's just.
Jeff, I have a disclaimer on my front page here. We are not a theatrical presentation.
Yeah.
Because my guys are all in my 50s now, and as Anna will always laugh at, they cannot remember if they had a tuna fish sandwich or not for lunch the day of the game. So and that's just, but. It's part of the charm. So there's all different types of D&D streams out there.
And I've seen a lot with like professional actors. I mean, Matt Mercer has done voice talent on games I've designed, computer games, and just the idea of this being seeing this blow out is just really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an awesome. And without it, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now, too. So that's a great thing.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful thing. We'll talk at the end of the show, though, about GrailCon and all the other things coming up, I think.
Are you on the agenda Jay, because I want to dig into the planes.
No, look what I have in my hand right here too.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I want to, because the planes
Mac
are
is
such
gonna-
an awesome
Big Mac's gonna-
part of the game.
He's
So,
gonna
yeah.
fly from the UK and beat me if I don't start talking about this in Spelljammer, right?
Okay,
in
yeah,
the
okay,
chat
yeah.
here.
So we
So
need to get there. So yeah.
this is
so-
like the penultimate Jeff Grubb
Yeah.
book here, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Jeff,
This and
yeah.
I must give this one too, because
Yeah.
these
That was
two are
excellent,
the
yeah.
that they are so awesome, because they expand the game into the realm of fantasy so much, so to speak. So how did it, because there was a little bit written about the planes in the end of the Dungeon Master's Guide, and a little bit in the Demigods, I
Yeah,
think,
these
and
demigods.
there were like a couple of pages, some hints to it.
And the Dragon magazine.
Yeah, Dragon
was
Magazine had
the
some articles.
First period. Steve was under Gary Sorcerer's Scroll, but he credited Steve Marsh, who was
Okay.
again one of the
Yeah.
early designers. And the Great Wheel, which at that
Mhm.
time was a great rectangle,
Yeah. Mhm.
basically came
Yeah.
out of that. You can see the
That's
the
true.
layout for that. And this is
Yeah.
one of the early
Mhm.
dragons that
Yeah.
that basically, and that's from Foundation. And
Yeah.
in the intro for Manual of Planes, I described it all as Fibber McGee's Closet, because
Yes,
we
I
had
love. Yeah.
all of this junk that we
Mhm.
have just stuffed in there. You know, we
Yeah.
have Steve's wonderful material, and we have Q1, where basically you're going to a layer of the abyss, which
Mhm.
you know
Yep.
you can access a little deeper layer of the abyss. You know, where
Mhm.
where Lolth has her spaceship, and yeah, Roger Moore had done work on the astral and the ethereal, and all of
Mhm.
these people had
They would
contributed
mention,
bits
yeah.
and pieces all the
Mhm.
way through.
Yeah.
And so this was what this was very much, was a collecting and a synthesizing and a putting it all together
Yeah.
and figuring out how it works on a larger frame. The
Mhm.
question between the ethereal and the deep ethereal, the question of basic color pools and astrals and
Yeah.
the astral plane. What so the sketches in there, that's my old engineering background coming out.
Oh, so you did
I
those
did-
sketches, and
I did the-
wow.
I did the originals, and
Mm-hmm.
I gave the originals and a manuscript to someone a while back.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't. The name just eludes me for the moment. But it was
Yeah,
just
because it's so full of
I was
these.
cleaning out
Yeah.
the
So full of
told them
these diagrams and illustrations and for everything from the inner planes and to let's see if we can
those
find some.
were the
Yeah.
engineering. Those were for my engineering templates.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and basically
Yep.
trying to basically explain, because it's easier by. So I had these 5
See if
by
I can
8
find some of the
cards. You know,
other
not
ones.
the 3 by 5s, but the
Yeah,
one next
and we
largest
have one of
size
the
up. Yep.
this one from the wheel, one of the
Yes.
early versions of the wheel. Yeah.
But the wheel evolved over time as well.
Mhm.
Basically, the original great rectangle didn't have the plane of concordant opposition.
Right. It just is somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
And that got added in Legends and Lore with Jim Ward. Okay. And then basically, I'm the one who put this exponential curve at the center, which basically was a mountain that had no top.
Yeah.
And then
They
Zeb
put the city
put a
on
city
top of
on
it.
top.
Yeah,
And we-
exactly.
and
It
we-
made
and
it
we-
to the.
And
Yeah.
we had that discussion of saying,
Mhm.
the mountain has no top. He goes, yes. But you're putting a city on top of it. Yes. Okay, work with me on this.
Yeah.
So-
But it's so cool. You took the most boring kind of empty middle and turned it into in a way of the hero products of manual
Yeah.
with Planescape. That was you took that bit and the city of Sigil that was not even from the beginning. It was just a center point that was not even mentioned. And
Exactly.
I think that was
That's
so
awesome.
cool to
Yeah.
make that cross point in the middle of the multiverse, so to speak, make it
And
into
the
a product.
planes do two things. The planes are a place where things come from.
Mhm.
Genies, elementals,
Yeah.
demons, archons, whatever.
Yeah.
And it also is a place where players go to adventure. Q1.
Yeah.
So you basically are balancing those two concepts.
Mhm.
With that idea. Certain
Yeah.
planes are, the inner planes are very anathema to at the time.
Yeah.
Basically, it was the idea of you're in the plane of fire. Do you have fire resistance? No.
Yeah.
Well, you're gone. The
Yeah.
plane of
It's kind of the building blocks of the world that
Yeah.
the inner planes, but and also in this edition, in third edition, you added the transitory planes became more like the plane of shadow, and they kind of took on a bigger role. With it, before it was only the astral and the ethereal, but then comes the plane of shadow and so on, and you that became even more interesting, so to speak.
And shadow evolved more after, even though we had a couple of shadow creatures.
Yeah.
You know, basically we kept adding planes and adding demi-planes. I think we called it the demi-plane of shadow for a while until we could fully incorporate it into it. We had the
quasi-planes.
I did the quasi-planes.
Oh, I was going to ask vacuum and all those.
There was the para-elemental planes were another addition that someone made to the base of what happens when these two planes come together, and then what happens when the corners, because we had like a quasi-elemental as a monster.
Yeah, quasi-elemental lightning.
Yeah, and okay, so obviously it's the quasi-elemental. There is a lightning plane. Okay, what about the rest of them? Where's the plane of ooze? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Slime, ice, all that.
Yeah. We had all sorts of things, and so basically we kept dividing the map, and literally as people went along, the first thing they would do is go off the map. The far realms, the planes of madness. You know, they had their own, you know, cosmology. Now that second edition, that second version, we were not pushing the Great Wheel nearly as much as the only one true way to lay out the plane. So
no, you had various other ideas that you can do. Yeah, I think this one is brilliant because it was the first time you actually put all that together and made it into a part of the game. But this one expanded on it that made it even better, so to speak.
Yes.
And I just love all the ideas and stuff into it. That is just it's fantastic. It's still my go-to.
So
for the realms, they basically wanted to do a tree. You know, they were redoing the realms again at that point, and they wanted to talk about its planar system being more tree-like as opposed to circular.
Yeah, there's the only addition to the D&D cosmology that I don't know exactly how early it came, but that was something that I noticed first time in the fourth edition Manual of the Planes. That was the Feywild.
Yes, the Feywild was another good example.
Yeah.
WotC era, just because we never found a good place for the fairy creatures. And they obviously, we give them sort of demi-plane status, but they don't really fit into any of the other planes. That's an area where, again, like the Planes of Shadow, we moved in on and basically said, yes, this is how we can make this work. And Gwen Kestrel was a big proponent of getting more, you know, fey creatures into the game. Yeah, and of course we had was it fourth with the Eladrin as
I think fourth that they started working on a lot of that.
As a player character race, and so basically you started seeing an evolution there as well. So now we have Eladrin, we have the regular elves, you know, one more group of elves. That's what we need, you know.
Two quick questions from the audience. Maddie says BECMI is a slightly different version of the planes because since there are no deities or fiends. Did you have input on that, or was that early on?
Basic companion masters. Companion, masters, immortals.
BECMI, I know. It's like basic expert, companion, masters,
expert.
immortals.
I missed expert. I wasn't. I did do some D&D, some basic D&D stuff, but really, you know, that whole era is a different bunch. When I got involved with it, it was like bringing the Stara over into the AD&D universe. So I never really worked with the mechanics, though. I will state that the D&D Cyclopedia, the hardback, is an excellent product. If you're going to have a one-book system, that one was the one to do. Okay. Just because it belonged to it, but I did not have input on the whole immortals and basically the immortal path and how do you become an immortal, because they didn't have God so much as they had the immortals. Yeah. We're the super high-level characters.
Another question was, are any of the, I guess Sigil is, but are any of the planes mapped out like almost fully? I don't think so, right? For the most part, yeah.
But there's so many cool sketches in the Manual of the Planes, both the this edition and the third edition. So first and third edition, there are some awesome Butopia and all the kind of, and there you can see the engineering sketches as well.
That's where my engineering background's coming
Yeah,
in.
I'll see if I can
Two
find some of them.
where the surface is, the sky of one. Hey, if you saw King Kong versus Godzilla, the recent one, hey, we've got a inner plane where basically the gravity plane is here, the gravity plane is up here, and basically you can go from one to the other.
We have one, I think, an awesome one of Gehenna with the cubes and stuff, and you can go from one and then live it. So there's so many awesome, and you can kind of use these as diagram, and then you can kind of sketch out your own versions of this and for your own campaign. Yeah.
One of the things that I am proud of is coming up with a method by which the hells seem to descend, but they are also all infinite planes, because the gates in are at the top and the gates out are at the bottom. So if you're going to deeper planes, you're always going downhill.
Yeah, and
the plane itself can just be as wide as you want. And that's why no one has mapped it out.
I was going to say, I worked, since I read that, I think it was in this one, I've been working on ideas, and now when I have 3D tools, I've been working for 10 years actually to try and do that. And I'm starting to come up with some really cool ideas that you actually take like a funnel, and then you put one on top of the other, and they can go out. So instead of being a sphere or a flame, they are basically a cone shape. Each of them are cone shaped, and they are stacked on each other, so to speak. And then you can have the
like that, isn't it?
Like cup juggling.
Exactly. So I'm and then you have, so the geography is actually pointing inward, so to speak. So every time you have to go up, it becomes much easier. So it's much harder. It's much easier to go down. And then the cool thing is you can go inevitably going up and without coming any closer to the exit, so to speak. So you actually have to go down and then somehow found that way up to the next level up, which is almost impossible. So you have to go all the way down.
Inferno.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, basically, you had to go down below Satan himself in order to get to Purgatorio.
Yep, and then you can have Mount Celestia, or so the opposite way, so to speak. You can go up, and then you can find simply. I always depict it as some sort of mist. You go in, and if you're worthy enough, you come out on the other side. Otherwise, you just go on the lower level and you disappear. So
otherwise, you get sent to Ravenloft, because Ravenloft made players afraid of fog.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a fun one there. I was interested in that, how that box set. It was so popular from the adventure, and it got developed into an entire box set as an opportunity. But then, at the same time, this Spelljammer came about. So, and you were the main creative force behind this? Was it a team effort on Spelljammer?
I was the lead on this. This one came about from a meeting in a bar.
Really?
Okay.
I've written this up on my blog, cool. But I don't mind sharing it. Literally, we went to Augie's, which was a restaurant in Lake Geneva, for an afternoon pitch session, where we would sit around the table and we'd throw ideas out. Jim was in charge, Jim Ward. Warren Spector was his second in command at the time. Zeb was there, I was there, a whole bunch of us were there, and we started, throwing ideas back and forth. And the wait staff just wonders who the heck we are. And at some point, they believed that Warren was Steven Spielberg and we were movie people, and we were basically casing the joint for an upcoming movie. And literally, what I pitched was, I want a guy in space standing on the deck of a ship. He doesn't need a spacesuit. He doesn't float away, but he's basically there on a sailing ship in space. And that was the image I posted. I pitched to Jim, and he liked the idea a great deal. And out of that meeting, we also got Talatis, which was the Talatis, which was the other side of Kryn. It was basically Dragonlance's expansion, and Zeb Cook ended up doing that. Okay. But I started in with Spelljammer, and used what Alan Varney referred to as Grubbian physics to he referred that for Spelljammer. Manual of Planes, and the idea of gravity planes and crystal spheres I took from that old woodcut that showed the guy moving through the crystal spheres and seeing the mechanisms creation on the other side, which was not from the Middle Ages, but was from somewhere in the 18th century. They look like the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
And from that, we started designing out what we wanted to do. And I was very fortunate to have excellent artists who would take, give me a ship that looks like a hammer. Give me a ship that a beholder would use. And then he would give me 3 different options for beholder ships. And I thought, okay, we'll use all of them. The beholders now all argue with each other. And they basically are all xenophobic against beholders that weren't exactly like them, which explains why the beholder on the cover of the Greyhawk book looks different than the beholder on the cover of Forgotten Waterdeep, the first Forgotten Realms module. So basically, it basically all started fitting together. And giant space hamsters came out of there as well.
Oh, so it's part of, okay, because I've heard of giant space hamsters in various places. So you came up with that when you were working on the original concept. Ooh.
But not intentionally.
Okay.
The art piece I got, and then we go to Dave LaForce, who basically would lay out the deck plans based upon this art. And at one point, I said, I want a gnomish ship, and I created the gnomes for Dragonlance to a great degree. They're a satire on my engineering background, where we fix something, and then we fix something to fix the problems created by the fix. And I want 2 ships that look like they sort of smushed together in the middle of the night. And so we have the back half of a sailing ship, the front half of a more traditional diesel ship, and then like a side wheelers on the side. And someone said, they don't need them really to propel themselves. They've got these helms. What do they use those? What's in those big side wheels? And I said, oh, those are hamster wheels. Roger Moore heard that and thought that was hilarious. So Roger was the head of Dragon Magazine, so we started working a lot more with giant space hamsters. He did the 2-page write-up in the Monster Manual, Monster Compendium, that listed all the different the space hamster of ill omen, the woolly space hamster, the miniature giant space hamster, also known as a hamster. The immune, and of course gets picked up and used in Baldur's Gate with Minsk and his hamster Boo. Go for the eyes, Boo.
Yes.
And so that continues on. And in Mass Effect, they had some like downloadable content. Basically you could buy a hamster cage for your quarters with a space hamster in it.
And even Princess Bride have the rodents of unusual size. I'm damn sure that had something to do with the space hamsters. But
no connection.
Oh, okay.
I think my friends had to basically kidnap me, tie me down, and make me watch The Princess Bride, which was wonderful and beautiful. But I'm not a movie person, so I pick up most of my movie lore by osmosis from other people talking about it. But I had not seen The Princess Bride. So I don't even know if it was out by the time of this.
Oh, but it's a good movie. You need to watch it.
I have watched it.
Oh, good.
It's fantastic. And if you haven't seen it, you've been exposed to all the memes. You might as well give in and go watch it.
Exactly. You need to watch it. Yeah.
So
okay, who's the writer on that? Because he did The Sting, he did The Great Waldo Pepper, he did All the President's Men. He just somebody on the Twitch channel can look up. He basically is a writer who basically wrote all these great movies in the late 70s, early 80s. So
Sting is awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The name will come to me and I'll suddenly shout it. Okay.
Yep.
William Goldstein is that
That's it.
Good job, Rob. Thank you, Phantom.
Thank you. No prize.
Well, we have 2 giveaways tonight, by the way, and everyone signed up for them. We have a $25 gift certificate from Troller Games and also from Miniature Building Authority, 2 of our sponsors for tonight. We'll do it at the end of the show, so everyone's been signing up. So thank you all for the great attendance and the great participation here. This question was early on. Lay Kim asked it. What's your favorite Spelljammer ship? Do you have one?
I like all our children.
Okay, that's fine.
But I really, really liked the Mind Flayer.
Okay.
The third ship. That just because my request was something based on a cuttlefish.
Is that the one on the cover? The cover of is that a dungeon?
No, it's a oh gosh, it's got that. It looks like
Yeah.
ancient primitive
Squid ship.
shellfish. It's got the squid. It's not the squid ship. The squid ship looks like an octopus.
Yeah, the
This one
nautiloid.
basically nautiloid. There we go. There's the right word. They're using it in
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3, and the video of it was
Yep.
just, oh my god,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
can't believe they're using Mind Flayer ships. for
Yep,
this.
they're using the Mind Flayer ship.
Cool.
And I think that's just, but the reason being, when we did Spelljammer, we made a number of models of the ships for demos at Gen Con.
Oh.
And one of them was the nautiloid. It was half cut away, so you could basically fight on the decks, and it was really cool. And I tried, after they retired Spelljammer, I said, can I get a hold of that model?
Yeah.
And they said, no, we actually are sending it to the West Coast because we're pushing a new game called Wild Space, which is also going to be a D&D in space type of thing, but more of that video type of like that Dungeons and Dragons video box set that we had that basically had the playing on in the character saying, now you're working together. But they were doing one for that. And, about 6 months later, I said, so did they ever ship it back? Oh, no, we dropped it.
Wow.
So they just disappeared.
Can you give me the pizza? Yeah. No, we threw them away.
Oh, gosh.
That's terrible.
I have very few regrets, but not being able to sneak off with that in the middle of the night is one.
Yeah, you should have snuck up and taken it away when you had the chance. Yeah.
Question: who came up with Gray Space?
Gray Space might have been me as just a name.
Okay.
What is in there? I am the one responsible for putting Oath at the center of the
everything.
Center of everything. It's the
okay.
It was we set it apart as being different from Realm Space, from the Dragonland Space. What is it about Gray Space that made it different? It's a geocentric sphere, and we put Greyhawk is at the center of its universe. So yeah.
Well, that is good to know, because we were just talking about that. Does the sun revolve? Sol revolve?
Was that Nigel Finley was the author on that one?
Not sure.
I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to see if.
Again,
David Shepard. Yeah, David Shepard might know that. So we have
David
people in chat who might know. Yeah, we have people in chat that knows everything. So,
I know.
and
lots of. I apologize. Like I said,
it's okay.
25, 30 years.
Yeah.
All right, I got one. This is a question that I don't understand at all, and Jeff, but I want to ask it just because I don't want to feel bad for this person asking it. Where is it? It was way up here, and now I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I don't. If this doesn't make sense to you, just say that. Maybe it does. Could the Beagle spaceship and Galactic Federation from Mystara be explained if the crystal sphere from Mystara space was bigger on the inside than the outside? I don't know what that means.
Me neither.
No, basically,
but I wanted to ask.
Beagle ship from Mystara.
Yeah.
Mystara, the
and Galactic Federation from Mystara be explained if the crystal sphere from Mystara space was bigger on the inside than the outside. He said
the answer is yes.
Okay.
And the idea of having a crystal sphere that's bigger on the inside, so basically you can have multiple worlds within it, sounds like a wonderful idea.
Okay.
I did not have anything to do with the space of Mystara. Mystara did not move over to a D&D system until after Spelljammer was in. So I'm not sure what was done there. I would hesitate, but I would put the guess that Bruce Hurd is behind that one, only because Bruce has done so much fantastic work on the D&D known world. The whole Gazetteer series was sort of his baby.
Oh, nice.
He was the head of our freelance operation, so he was dealing with our freelancers. So he always basically directed some good talent toward it, and the look and the feel and the high gloss for that was just that was a wonderful series. And now, of course, he's working on Kaladar.
I was just going to say he kind of still at it, so
yes, and he still is dealing with flying ships and etc. So that's something worth checking out.
There was a Kickstarter. I think it's still
Yeah,
live.
yes.
Yeah, that it started a few like last week. I think it was that.
Cool.
Yeah, one of my friends, Torfinn, is doing all the maps for it. So I talked to him a lot. So and he working for Bruce doing the doing a lot of map work and stuff.
Excellent.
So yeah.
So a couple questions to finish up on Spelljammer. Was it everything you expected it to be, or some things you would have done differently?
Or something that you would that didn't make it that
Something
you
that didn't
wanted
make
to.
it that you wanted to make.
Yeah.
What I did with Spelljammer, I was happy with.
Okay.
Basically getting the mechanics up, getting the ships going, and the Spelljammer itself, the Legend of the Spelljammer box set. That was a high point. I felt that was excellent.
Okay.
The Rock of Brawl, I basically thought that was just a wonderful set, and people took it in different directions, and that's part of the whole thing as far as things generate, as things grow, people keep adding to the creation. So we had the War Captain's Guide, we had the Scroll Wars, we had a lot of stuff that, and some parts of it, giant space hamsters, were a little silly. Other parts of it were really kind of cool. The Clockwork Horrors, which were my Daleks, were a creature that I was particularly happy with. So it's just like when you're building, and what we had a tendency of, when I started at TSR, you would design a game, a world, a game, you would basically attach to that, and you go until they got rid of that, and then you go do something else with your life. Like Merle Rasmussen is always top secret guy, even though he's designed stuff for D&D and the like. Jim Ward is always going to be running for Gamma World. Even though he's done excellent work over the D&D line as well. And so I've been very fortunate because Jim had a tendency to have me run on something for a year and a half, and then he would pry my fingers off Spelljammer and said, "We need something else. We're up in an Arabian Adventures stuff."
Yes, and here it is. Here we go.
Don't do that.
Okay, that's when that comes in.
Yes,
I was waiting for
And during the second edition era, yes.
The second edition era.
Yep.
Andrea Hayden was my editor on that, and she was absolutely fantastic. She gets on the back. She gets a credit as far as for creation. She wrote up a lot of the stuff that's about the Gift of Salt, basically created the society of it, and it was so good. Originally in Oriental Adventures, we talked about the society of character at the end of the hardback. For this book, we actually moved it to the beginning because it was so good as far as laying out the principles of what we wanted to do with Alpha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very different, it was a different style of play. It got us away from the traditional points of light, dark forest, Germanic, Tolkien-esque type of unit, and into a more exotic area, into a more social area. It's more, the cities are much more cosmopolitan. It doesn't really matter if you're an elf or a dwarf nearly as much. And just playing with those ideas just gave the game an entirely different flavor.
It seems to be to me, and I'm not an expert, but I played a bit, and when it came out, we were kind of, this is so cool. But it seems to be that role play is more built into the setting in a way than in earlier. That was more kind of had its wargaming roots, especially Greyhawk that came out so early, more had wargaming roots. This had more role playing and social and kind of esoteric aspects to it. That was really interesting.
Definitely, Greyhawk owes a lot to its wargaming roots. The Realms owes a lot to its dungeon roots. You're in the dungeon, basically looking for sites for dungeon. And this is much more on the social type because it again fits with the stories that were being told. The Tales of the Arabian Nights. And these come from different sources. These come from, some come from the Far East that basically are adopted by the Mid-Eastern cultures and basically then translated into Western cultures. Having really cheesy movies, which are part of the whole.
That's so true.
Ray Harryhausen. Two-headed rocks and everything. So all of this becomes part of the grist for the mill to create, and it allowed us to create a very different world and then be able to set it in the realms.
Yeah, that was the thing. It became part of the realms. Yeah.
So How long was this project in effect? Did it get, because it went from 2E to 3 and then they stopped on Alkadim, or did they continue onward just like with Spelljammer? What was the
We had
shelf life for
planned,
both?
we planned actually Alkadim to only have like a 2-year lifespan
Okay.
initially, but it was doing
Uh-huh.
so well, they asked for a third year and we gave it to them.
Yeah.
And they asked for a fourth year. We laid out a plan that involved, going to our Tibetan analog where the Yak men live.
Wow.
And at
Yeah.
that point, they say, "Yeah, I think we're done." And so that's cool. And that's just the idea of, giving a world a good shelf life, and basically,
Yeah.
creating some wonderful stuff for it, and then you can back off of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was also the time when TSR kind of went south and economically and financially and the operation.
Thereafter, we had this was the era of Dark Sun and Alkadim and Dragon Knights, and it started going. I left by that point. I had gone 3 months.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
I had worked on Mystara, and I felt that was my swan song. Did a couple other projects. My last project was
here's Karamikos.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes, Janelle Duque artwork. She did a triptych of, basically carved it up, and basically, one was the first cover, one was the second cover. But that one was a very challenging project from the standpoint. Originally, I was going to do port over all of Mystara, all of the gazetteers, all that wonderful work that Bruce had overseen. And I was translating it over, and we got into a big fight about the logo with one of the marketing guys, and he basically had done the research and said, well, people think about fantasy, they think about knights and towers and dragons and wizards, so I want all of that on the logo. And we kept trying, and it didn't work, and we had a come to Jesus moment and basically said, look, this isn't working, how about this instead? And they said, okay. And then the next Monday, we changed direction on the project. It was just going to be about Mystara. The deadline stayed the same. It was going to have an audio CD in it, because that was the high tech that we were going to put into the game.
That's when CDs said that was the new high tech.
That was the new hotness.
Yeah.
And so there were all sorts of challenges to that. But it just sort of wore me out at that point. My last project was Neither Man Nor Beast, which was a Ravenloft project, where I did the Island of Dr. Moreau in Ravenloft terms.
I didn't locate that one, unfortunately. I don't have that.
A lot of the stuff from that period starts, diminishing in press runs. So, But I left about that time. Margaret Weiss, who we mentioned before, basically she had set up her own organization and had a hobby shop in downtown Lake Geneva, the Game Guild. And and this was a great little hobby shop. It was a men's clothing store, and they used to have these big, huge closets where you would basically store the suits to keep the dust and coal dust and road dirt from off it. And so she took those out and turned them into gaming tables. And so we had booths all along one side in this old wonderful woodwork. Anyway, she has a full-grown company. She and her then husband Don Perrin were basically I had done a card game based on a novel series she had written, Star of the Guardian, because collectible card games were hot. This was one of the things that contributed to TSR's challenge, is that everybody was going off into the new hotness. And I joined up with them. We did a Wing Commander game, card game. We did a Star Trek original series card game. I'm going to say Tops, but it could be up. I think it's Tops. So we did like collectible card games for a while. I did the basis for what would become Larry Elmore's had a Sovereign Stone, which became the eventual Cortex system that you see a lot of stuff that they've done since then has come out with. So I worked with them for a few years, and everybody out then TSR got bought. Everybody left town, got really lonely. I came out to Seattle for a friend's wedding and visited new TSR in WotC. Talked to Bill Slavisek and said, I really would like, would miss you guys. I'd like to, be able to come back. And Bill reached in his pocket and he offered me a shiny golden orb and said, "Yes, I think we can bring you back." So that's how I rejoined. That's how I rejoined Wizards.
And that's why that's how you ended up in the Seattle area again.
That's how I ended up in the Seattle area.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
But during when I was off, I basically worked on Magic the Gathering novels, The Brothers War, and then 3 more. And this was Brothers War was the first of the relaunched Magic the Gathering line. Yeah. They did a licensed book series, and then they basically stopped for a while. And so I basically got a chance to tell another origin story, which is another thing I love doing.
Nice.
And so The Brothers War was this big, thick, heavy novel, and that was what I was working on during my gap year when I wasn't working for TSR.
Yeah, but you were still working in the industry with various topics. Yeah,
I did something for Art Talsorian, for Mike Smith and Lisa for the Castle Falkenstein.
So is that when this the Manual of Planes came back out for 3rd edition? Was during that second term?
During the second period was Manual of Planes.
Okay.
Yes.
And look at that, Bruce Cordell and David Noonan too. What a good
work
that is.
Yeah, and they came in and wrote wonderful sections for me because it was just they did a great job for me. A lot of mechanics, a lot of the monsters. I think
because the 3rd edition Manual of the Planes is more mechanics heavy than the 1st edition, and
well, it fit in with what 3rd edition was. 3rd edition was very much about being it's 4th edition was crunch too, but it also was trying to define as much as possible.
That's true.
The 1st edition was pushing barriers back and seeing where everything was. The 2nd edition was collecting everything together. The 3rd edition was basically bringing it together under one creative set of rules.
Yeah.
And the 4th was creating it in such a way that basically addressed balance problems. And 5th, I think, really just puts a lot of the creativity back in the hands of the GM.
Yeah, it's kind of the best of D&D edition. I get that sense, meaning you have a little bit of mechanics from every edition, kind of.
It basically builds off the past, but I think their advantage-disadvantage system was absolutely brilliant. It took effectively a feat from the halflings. And and basically made it into something.
It's so simple. You don't have to calculate anything. You just make it happen.
Third edition was very much I have the higher ground, and I'm using a longer weapon, but you're wearing a red hat, but it's Tuesday, but he had the salad. And so
you played it for 18 years, then 3 times longer than it lasted. Then you became an expert, and
The whole high priest, I know all the rules thing is one of the attractions to playing a game like D&D.
In a way, I think that 3rd edition would be awesome if you had a perfect computer program that could keep track of everything for you. Then 3rd edition rules would be fantastic, which was kind of probably maybe an inspiration.
Yeah, it was
exactly. 4th edition was
World of Warcraft.
that was taking a computer game and putting it in a tabletop.
And that was one of the criticisms of they were taking the pieces that basically felt very World of Warcraft. Because, EverQuest, World of Warcraft, they evolved out of tabletop games.
Yes, so it was kind of going full circle in a way with inspiration.
And again, I see game design as a conversation. I've said this elsewhere, where basically, you put out something and then they'll say, "Ooh, that's good, but I can make it better." Or there's a problem here, or it doesn't handle this corner case, and they start changing. And they start building up, and you can see progression, and you can see sometimes the fossils of the past of previous game systems within your next system that comes along. Eventually, end up with an entirely new species. But it's the idea of it's always going to be somebody who's going to come and they're going to monkey with it, and they're going to change it. And I think that's a good thing.
And it's amazing that why someone couldn't come up with that awesome idea earlier, but you needed these 4 ideas on the way in order to get there, so to speak.
Exactly.
Got some audience questions I want to stuff in here. If you had a chance, would you have written Spelljammer in 3rd or 4th edition if they asked you to?
In 3rd edition, no.
Okay.
Because Andy Collins did a very good version of it called Spelljammer Beneath the Spider's Moon that I thought was very good.
Okay.
And,
was that fan creation or was that something?
Andy was one of our full-time designers.
Oh, okay.
and I forget what it was. It was like for like Dungeon Magazine or something. They
Uh-huh.
were doing
Okay.
full worlds for a
Mm-hmm.
while,
Yeah.
basically whole campaign settings. And it was Dungeon, but this was before Paizo took it over. Could have been
Mm-hmm.
after, and they could be part of it. But anyway,
Yeah.
he created a very small inside a crystal sphere type of setting, but I thought a very, very fine job on it. Fourth edition never got the chance, because I think that Spelljammer does belong a lot more to that fluff type of thing as opposed to the points of life and crunch that basically fourth was part of it.
Yeah.
Fifth, I think Mike Morrell's just like the taunt the Spelljammer community. And every so often he'll drop like a GIF into the mix, or
and
here's a spell jamming helm, and all of the fans go, it's coming back. And then
he talked about it so cool when he had, I think it was 3 years ago at GaryCon, he had a seminar when he talked about, and then he talked about because we were so many Greyhawk fans and there were Birthright fans, whatever. So everybody was like, when is my setting coming back? And he had the interesting theory when he said that you have home-based settings where you work from and the characters are home-based in, and then you have vacation settings where you go on occasional kind of journeys and adventures. Exactly. And then you have these transitory settings that functions as hubs in the world. And he mentioned Spelljammer as that setting.
And I have no idea what's going on in their brain.
Yeah, and he mentioned that.
They have it in design, if it's something's come back and forth. But I do like the mix that they have been doing between old standards, Ravenloft, Forgotten Realms, and new material, the Theros, the various Magic the Gathering ones. They've been trying to balance that pretty much as far as not doing everything going back to the old guys and offering new material that's fresh for a lot of people who are basically want to run a D&D adventure without having to have someone who remembers Elminster when he was a pup. I think that's a good thing. One ancient one I'd love to see 5th edition happen would be Dragonlance, because I think Dragonlance is set up, the original series is created in very much in a way that you could do it with the chapter leveling, with basically bringing people up through levels as opposed to making them calculate experience points. With the way the pacing goes of the story itself, that one was one that would adapt really nicely to the 5th edition model that they have. Now, the problem is it has to be a book that's thick, but I'm sure
they need to come with a TV series. They need to have one on Netflix or Amazon or HBO or something. Needs to do a TV series with Dragonlance to go along with this. That will be
time.
I'm still hoping for it, so to speak.
I'd love to see it. I would watch it.
Me too. I would love it. And I've never played I played as a player, but I've never run. I'm a Greyhawk idiot when it comes to running my games. So
everybody has
Autolacin is more than anything, so to speak. But I played in Dragonlance, and it's an awesome setting, and I would really love to see a TV series or a movie franchise or something with that. So I think that and I really hope so, because to me, it's weird that they do a movie about a rule system. They should do a movie about a setting or a story or something. Meaning, I want to see a Dragonlance TV series. I want to see a Forgotten Realms movie, and I want to see a Drizzt Do'Urden or the Under movie or TV series.
Alias, and the Azure Bonds would make an excellent movie. Just throwing that out there.
And then they can put D&D at the bottom of the poster.
A Dungeons and Dragons movie,
Exactly, but I don't think you should make a movie about the rule system. That should not be because they have so many wonderful settings and stories.
The rule systems are tools, but it's also what's recognized most. In the larger things.
You should put
people
that.
Don't necessarily know about our favorite Dark Elf, but they do know, or even Forgotten Realms, but they do know about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, they should have that. It can be played in D&D and so on and so forth, but the movie should not be about D&D. The movie should be Forgotten Realms. So
they might remember the TV show.
That's true. That might be the cartoon.
A question from Mattias out here says that you have an unreleased Mystara book and it got a bunch of attention recently.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Is that a question?
Well, I don't know.
This is part of the story I was telling.
What happened?
I told you we had to restart with Mystara. Basically became Keramikos, the box set.
Yep.
But I still had the manuscript. And after many years, I came across it in the downstairs, storage area, and basically said, "Yeah, I've got it. I still have it, but I'm done with it." Someone and I think it was David. I know it was Howard Blackmore. One of the Mystara things. I apologize. I'm blanking on names right now.
Okay.
I'm
No
gonna boggle this here badly.
Howard, he's really involved. So
yes. But he was in England, so I wasn't going to mail it to England.
David Shepard might be. He's very
Well, and it was a third person came up. They run the Palace, website. And what they did is they basically said, we'd love to see it. I go, here it is. Here's all the warnings. And again, I wrote this all on my blog. And they want to actually put it together as a giveaway for to celebrate their anniversary or something. And I said, go, you have my permission. I'll write an intro for it. And,
awesome.
So I sent out all sorts of
It was David Shepard. He just said so in chat.
Yes.
So
Thank you, David. I'm sorry for missing up. I'm sorry for totally blanking on who I was talking to. Vaults of Pandius. Thank you. Oh, I'm embarrassed when I know 30 years ago, and now I blow something.
But I'm the same way. You involved in so many projects.
We're getting old. But anyway, I said the warning that this is unedited, undeveloped. Literally, we stopped writing at the point we switched over. But he has the original documentation. And they were putting it together. We'll see if it comes out. We'll see how it all works together.
Wonderful.
David, I got your emails, David. I just haven't looked at the manuscript, he says quietly. Sorry. But I've been a little wrapped up in the rest of my life right now. So I sent warnings. What we did is we of course took all of those wonderful character subclasses that were generated for the Gazetteer and turned them into kits for the Alpha concept. So that's how we were doing subclasses effectively at that point. And they came and they said, so everything translated over and brought over the spells, but a lot and brought over the background story and summarized all this. The known world goes back to Alan Schick and Tom Mulvey. It was like their campaign. That sort of thing. You see, and when you need a place for the early basic modules, the early expert modules, because the expert modules when that map that was in the first expert box set, that was the drawn out of showing all of the locations and all the individual. As a world, it's one of those ones where we have the Vikings are right next to the desert people that are right next to the Orcish theocracy, which are right next to the
Well, it's convenient.
Standard.
It's easy adventuring.
Easy adventuring. And it's filled with stuff. And this is, I think, one of the charms of Known World, which became the Star.
Yeah.
And yes, I think I named the Star.
You came up with that name?
Because we needed a name for the world. We had Forgotten Realms, Known World. Okay, that's a bit of a lead,
Yeah.
So.
But I think it's a great name, Mystara. Yeah.
We also renamed Specularum, which was the main. Specularum was the main city in Keramikos that you could adventure out of.
Oh, okay.
And every female member of the staff always would whinge whenever we used that word. So I renamed it. I think it was renamed Miros, but I don't know if that stuck with me.
So David also asked if the rumors that Mystara, your Mystara manuscript put Dragon Strike into Mystara are true. And the Dragon Strike was the game, wasn't it?
Dragon Strike was we talk about Wild Space as a big box set with a videotape in it. Dragon Strike was the first one.
Yeah.
And that was the one basically where they introduced the characters, they had a dungeon crawl, and they basically but I don't know if I did that or not.
Okay.
And that's not to say I didn't. It's just I have no memory. I did write a comic book for Dragon Strike that was published by Marvel.
Oh wow.
And I have only about 50 copies of it down in the storage area right now. So show up at Gary Con and just
yeah. But you worked at Wizard of the Coast during the whole 3E era, or how long did you stay on for?
I worked on it through the 3E era.
Yeah.
Purchased by Hasbro.
Yeah.
And then we had some staff reductions.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were let go in one of these yearly purges or whatever, the infamous purges?
It was they were trying to cut back, and basically Bill's comment was, "You're absolutely brilliant 3 times a year, but I need more." So okay.
Yeah.
So they were cutting back on the total number of personnel. A lot of us were let go. Skip left, Thomas Reed left, I left.
Yeah.
There was just like there was an exodus that was happening. But I again went freelance for a while, and I ended up.
I was going to say you're still freelance, yeah. Doing stuff.
Well, I'm still doing freelance work. I'm still doing the occasional essay.
Yeah, but then you working. Yeah.
Well, let's see if I can get it correct. Like the path since then involved WizKids, working on Hero Clicks and Mage Knight.
Okay.
Going to Pokemon, working on the website for a little while.
Wow.
Okay.
And then going to Guild Wars and ArenaNet. During this time, I actually designed a computer. I wrote for a computer game from Ubisoft called The Settlers, not Settlers of Catan, but The Settlers, and did the story mode for that. And basically, somebody recommended me again for the job, and I was available and started doing that. And I got hired also by ArenaNet to do Guild Wars. So I did the story for Nightfall and Eye of the North, which were the last 2 of the original Guild Wars. And then I was on the story for Guild Wars 2. Okay. And basically, and that was, until about 5 years ago. And at that point, I left and I'm working for Amazon Games now.
Oh, cool. Guild Wars was the main competitor to World of Warcraft for years early on.
It was the great number 2.
Yeah.
There was World of Warcraft, and then there was and there haven't been a lot of new MMOs.
Yeah.
They're like doing a major motion picture now. It's just so big.
Right.
But Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2 did very, very well, and I wrote a novel for them as well. So just keep on going.
That's fantastic.
I'm working on a project for Amazon. Can't talk about it, but basically that's still in Seattle. And of course, with everybody else, I've been working from home for the past year.
Yeah.
So I get to know everybody else's cats. Amazon is a dog-friendly company.
Okay.
So basically, in the office, you're working and there are corgis sleeping under your desk.
Also, you can bring your pet, your
can
dog
bring your dog into work. So I got to know everybody's dogs.
But what about cats? Are not allowed in?
Cats are not. But but since we're all doing Zoom calls now, we're all online and doing audio chats. I got to meet everyone's cats as well.
Yep. Oh, wonderful. Yep. And then you do freelancing work for Cobalt Press, among others, because that's where when I met you, and Wolfgang put us together for several times on several. First it was Southlands, and then there's been several other projects too.
I didn't work on Southlands. I did work on Midgard and Dorning. Probably I remember all the maps for Dorning, which was going to be our dark Germanic forest, heavy Fey influence type character. Yeah, I like Midgard. Midgard actually did very, very well. I'm doing small stuff. I'm not taking on and doing. I'm doing an entire world. I'm not creating an entire RPG at this point. I'm doing essays. I'm doing small adventures. I'm doing occasional monsters, and usually for Cole because Wolf's a friend, and we go to lunch, and he says I need this, and I go okay, I can do that. So,
wonderful. Yeah.
It's actually getting my game design back to being a hobby as opposed to the main way I'm
hobby.
That doesn't make any money. So
that's where we are.
Exactly.
Anna's a little bit ahead of that, but that's where we are.
Yeah, a little bit ahead of it, but not much, but a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a nice place because there's no pressure then.
Yeah, exactly. And it's working with nice people, and I'm having a good time, and there's not as much pressure as far as, oh my God, I really have to finish this.
Yeah.
2 final questions, if it's okay.
Okay.
All right. Did this Big Mac asks this again? Did you hear of any plans for DC Comics for Greyhawk when you did D&D Comics?
No.
No. There you go. That answers that. And
Uh,
a
yeah.
Leonard no, which we got one
A
of
Leonard,
those.
Leonard, no. No, there was no interest from either side on Greyhawk, I'm afraid. We did, the AD&D comic book, we did the Forgotten Realms comic book, Dragonlance, one for Gamma Rotters. And we had several in turnaround in the idea that we had made pitches and they said, well, we don't know. Let's try this way instead. And at the same time, TSR West Coast was doing their line of comics. So they quietly, closed the license. They said, okay, we're done. DC said, we're just not going to renew. But they gave me enough time to wrap up the stories I was telling in the Dragonlance comic, which made me happy.
Actually, 2 more because I got one myself.
I'm here.
Okay. All right. I don't want to push too much, but here it is. What's your proudest accomplishment in your TSR era, WotC era for D&D? What are you most proud of?
The things I always mention is, and one was the fact the Nine Hells descend, but also the Universal Table for Marvel Superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is a descendant of the old combat results tables from my Avalon Hill SBI days.
There we go.
And the idea of creating this unified table, buckets as opposed to stats, remarkable, excellent, etc., as opposed to saying you have a strength of 45. Those components, area movement, it was very much a game that was designed to be as accessible as possible. And we reached out to a new market and got a lot of people engaged, and people are still playing it today, which makes me very, very happy. They're descendant lines, and people are creating their own sort of thing. They call it phase rip for the fighting, agility, strength, endurance, reason, intellect, psyche, stats. So, in fact, they just announced they're doing, and Marvel is now doing its own RPG, calling it the Marvel system, where the stats all spell out Marvel.
Oh, okay. Well.
So, and Matt Forbeck is designing that one. So.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
So here, TSR is now back because of the slip of the licensing, right? And now
the name is now available, and somebody else has purchased it.
Yes, and Jim Ward is doing the Giants in the Earth. I saw. Have they approached you to do any production with them?
No, and as I say, the day job right now,
okay.
I probably would not be. Oh, it makes me sigh deep with it. I have not talked with them about that at all.
Okay. Just curious if they were reaching out.
Part of it could be we're not at the same conventions, but I haven't been at any conventions for the past 2 years.
I know it's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough for all of us. So
North Texas just happened, and I feel badly for missing it. So.
Yeah.
Do
I want to go there next year?
When you DM or play, do you have a go-to campaign setting, or is it a homebrew? I know, as far as just when you play.
When I DM at conventions, I have a couple adventures that I wrote for the RPGA.
Okay. That
were published in Polyhedron in a now forgotten issue that I can pull out and use for I'm running stuff. I have a couple Cthulhu adventures that I use. I tend to be running when I'm running written adventures as opposed to an original world. I haven't done anything in Toril, my original campaign, for Aeons. It's downstairs in the storage unit, and someday I'll uncork it and see what's there. But when I was running Masters of Thotep, we have our gang switches off keepers, and we run a lot of Call of Cthulhu. Scratchy game designer, find a cultist. A lot of game designers are fans of Cthulhu.
Wow, cool.
But as far as D&D world, gosh, last one I ran was for some friends at work at Guild Wars, and that was actually the first D&D module adventure for 5e, the Dragons, Rise of Dragons.
Yeah.
Steve Winter, again Wolfgang Bauer, design work, and it was just. It was a lot of fun. And we ran, a whole bunch of sessions, and then got caught up with, our regular deadlines, and had to abandon it.
That is awesome. And you have any final questions?
I must say that it's just say
Wow,
it's
we
this
got through a
been
lot of
fantastic couple hours to
yeah, a lot of
get back
content.
into.
Lot-
Yeah.
It is a lot of peek behind the scenes. It's a lot of how the sausage gets made. I know
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
but that's
absolutely.
part of our heritage and part of where we come from. And
Yep.
we oddly enough, we do things for reasons. They aren't necessarily the best reasons.
No, but they're
especially in retrospect. But we do things for reasons.
Yep.
So we do have a virtual con coming up, and we have some Q&A, questions and answers. And would it be okay if I reach out to you, see if you'd be available at some time in the future, or have the community talk to you? Yeah.
For Q&A, or
Yeah.
there are more questions or things pop in from the messages after this is all done and posted up on YouTube and everything. So,
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that was I don't know who that was. Who's calling me this late? All right, so there
I must
you go.
say that thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's good seeing you.
Yeah, it was great seeing you again, and we need to and Wolfgang wrote an email saying that we need to get together when as soon as the COVID and stuff like that will.
I have had lunch with Wolf in person.
Oh,
so
good,
he was
good.
my first
it's getting there.
non-pandemic. Yeah.
Yep.
Washington State's been very, very good at inoculations and vaccines.
We are getting good here too.
And Seattle has been very good among Washington. So
you were among the first hit in the country too.
We were the first epicenter, and it was it was scary times out here.
Yep.
But everybody's really buckled down, and a lot of folk are still wearing masks. A lot of people are still showing courtesy and care.
Yeah.
We go from there. It's the new normal.
Wonderful. So we can kind of get back into normal again. And I can say for people in chat that it will be no castle this year. So it's getting pushed to next year. So
Castle
the in the castle. They wanted me last year to come and DM D&D in the castle, and that got canceled due to COVID. And this year got canceled due to COVID too. So now it's pushed to next year. So we'll see. Yeah.
It will happen. We will.
Eventually it will happen. So eventually it will happen.
We know that Game Hole's happening, right?
Yeah, Game Hole is on schedule, and PAX Unplugged is on schedule, and a limited Gen Con too, a kind of a hybrid Gen Con.
Yeah,
apparently.
It seems that way with a lot of them, and then we'll just see. I mean, Gary Con's scheduled to be back on next year, and that'll be a big meeting once again.
Oh, yes.
And,
Gathering of the clan.
Yeah, it will be. The trouble now is do I do the virtual or do the in-person part? Anna, right? We got to decide all that.
Oh yeah, and also North
now.
Texas is something I want to go to next year too. So yeah.
Texas is a good group. Actually, Tankon, they did sort of like a summary broadcast from North Texas. So that might be an option for you as well. You can play during the day, and then in the evening you do the summary, bring on some guests for some,
that sounds
short
cool.
talks and that sort of thing.
Jeff, I'm gonna have them link your blog. Hopefully, there we go. Grubb Street at grubbstreet.blogspot.com. There you go. That's how you follow Jeff.
Yep.
I'm assuming that's the best place, right, to follow.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm Facebookable.
Yes.
I mean,
we're friends on Facebook.
There's not a lot of gaming stuff on there right now, just from the fact I've been reviewing books and talking about the pandemic out here. That's about it. So I come with warning. There are occasional bits you have to search through to find the secret history of the Forgotten Realms and the Stara and Marvel superheroes and Spelljammer, and those who know where to find those.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. Well, why don't we we'll do some shout outs here. Is there anything else you'd like to shout out that's going on?
Want to plug or something you're working on that you can't talk about?
I'm good. My life is secret right now. Basically, I'm good. I'm working on stuff. What stuff? Stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I have nothing I'm working on right now that is secret. That's a good thing. Right now, I used to work on only secret, and then I started working in this thing, and then you can talk about some things and not other things. Now I'm working on any NDA project, so it's good. So
people are always worried about the creatives being the lead, but actually we just don't want to tell anybody until it's done, because things will always change. So it never comes out of the creative side of people. Basically telling tales out of school.
And the funny thing is, a lot of times when you work on something, you have no clue what you're working on, because it was like when I started mapping on something, I said, what are you mapping? I said, I don't know. It's not written yet. I don't even know the title of it. So
and in our case, the games change, they evolve.
Yeah.
People, continually improve. We find some new method or some new market or some
Hmm.
new approach. So it's always been. I mean, at TSR back at Gen Con, we'd all go to Gen Con and we'd drop hints. This was before everything got recorded about stuff we're working on,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
come back from Gen Con and the entire schedule will have changed. So,
Yeah. So yeah. Hmm. Yep.
Change is inevitable, but sometimes
Yep.
it's too
It's
quick.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good too. So yeah.
All right, so
Yep.
Jeff, feel free to hang if you want to hear about our shout outs and stuff and the giveaways. If you got to go, it's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll hang out to
All
the
right,
end here.
Anna, what
Go
do
for
we
it.
got going on? We got a lot going on, don't we,
Oh
Anna?
yeah, we got to. Yeah, first let's talk about next Friday. So and you have a little
Yes.
bit of graphics to do. So
Yes.
Alyssa Faden and me are teaming up with Jay to do a fantasy cartography show once a month to talk about fantasy cartography and yeah. So that will be and Alyssa Faden. She's an awesome cartographer, specializing especially in city mapping is her forte. Just like doing large scale world map have become my home state. But she's also very versatile in she's done a lot of stuff. So we're going to talk about fantasy cartography, and the first episode will be talk about a little bit what we are doing and how we got started in this, because we have some old decrepit horrible sketches and stuff from back in the day, so we can prove to everybody that we started out, things looked awful to begin with, and it's just by improving over time you get better, so to speak. So I don't want, because I want anyone who wants to do fantasy mapping should not be discouraged by what me and Alyssa and other awesome cartographers are doing once they get into the business and worked at it for 20 years. So we all start in the beginning and we do all sorts of weird mistakes and we don't know what we're doing, and then you get better. And then we're going to talk a little bit what the goals for the show will be and stuff like that. So I'm putting together an agenda of items that I think we should talk about.
So I just noticed something, Anna. The time on the banner's wrong. It's 8 p.m.
Okay, then we you see.
It's 8 p.m. Eastern.
It's 8 p.m.
It's 8 p.m. Eastern. Let me just re-click that. Yeah, it's
8 p.m.
not 7.
Yep. Okay, good.
So there you go. So Anna will get me back that. But yeah, it's 8 p.m. Eastern time, Friday night, 2 hours. So we'll have a fantasy mapping show, and then we'll go from there, have some guests, talk about multiple topics on this once a month. So we're looking really forward to that.
Dive deep into fantasy cartography. Yep.
So, but we got a ton of other content going on. Anna, what else is up?
Well, for me, it's will be on Lendor Isles is starting to take shape, and there will be some more blog posts on texturing, and there will be an other Worth update coming next week, and so that is the what's coming, and there's some other stuff that I'm also going to start putting together a list of all the updates for my Flanny's map for this fall, so to speak, to kind of see, and if I can nail down the how big the new Atlas version will actually be, how much it will cover, so we can kind of straighten that out too. So there's a whole bunch of blog posts in the works. So I hope that I can get a couple, 2 or 3 of them out next week. So yeah, so I don't want to be longer than that, so to speak. I can go on forever, but yeah.
So last night, I gotta say real quick, I can pull tricks on new players, not my 40-year-old players in my campaign. And I pulled one last night, and I wanted to say thank you for the unbelievable amount of participation we had from the audience last night. It was awesome insane. Game. It was insane. But I pulled the anti-paladin trick last night. So and that was fun. We had a good time last night with that group. And thank you to everyone who participated. Josh Pop, who jumped in last second. Time Lord's wife, Casey, Anna. We had a real fun time. It was a blast. But what we got coming up this week? Legends and Lore. This Wednesday night, myself, Anna, and Greyhawk Mike Bridges, we're going to talk about cities of Greyhawk. We're going to go and show you how lacking in maps there are for most cities in Greyhawk. And that's what we're going to do. We'll be like, Fate of Istis book. So.
But there's some other interesting aspects of Greyhawk cities that we can talk about, and city design in general that we can fantasy city design that can be interesting.
So that'll be Wednesday on the 8th. Our normal weekly Legends and Lore show, and then on the Thursday night, my normal game with my original crew of players, we are back in Norwell. The plot has been revealed. The anti-paladin, who's the daughter of Lord Mastrine, they're trying to eliminate the Narwhal headhunters because of the rivalry there, all in the Wild Coast, and there's going to be attack on the Narwhal headhunters HQ, and we'll see how that goes. Jeff, one thing, I am a visual DM with 1E2E, so
he has a game
let me-
basement that
let me
is
see if I can
the
put this
coolest
up.
ever. It's
Yeah.
every gamer's dream. He has a whole basement,
Yeah,
20,000
here's my
miniatures,
table, Jeff.
terrain,
There it is.
Yeah.
an 8
I
by
saw
8
some
feet
shots
game
earlier.
table.
Yeah,
and,
there you go. So there's my
It
table.
is amazing.
But we've been playing that way for years, 1E, 2E with miniatures and
Yep.
terrain, and it's fun. We have a blast with it, and I
Yep.
can't wait to see what happens on Thursday night. Then Friday night's the show. Next Sunday's Gabbin. That I don't have a topic yet. I was hoping that Malden, Dennis Tetro, would say yes, and we could do our specialty pre-show that we wanted to get, and I could get Eric Boyd to come on, the creator of the second edition specialty priest, right, for the most part, and have them all talk. But if not, we'll push that back a week or two. I'm trying to get that as one of the next shows, but we'll be a TBD for next Sunday night's Gabbin. So. Talked to Gary Hillen about Iron Gate. He want to do a map since forever. Yeah, I know he does. We're going to give. That's going to be part of the discussion on the Wednesday Night Legends of Lore about what maps should be made. There's a gentleman on Facebook, Vincent Metallier. He's done some great mapping. I'm going to try and include his on Wednesday night as well. All right, let's do the giveaways. All right.
Yep.
Let's do the 2 giveaways now. We're going to do a $25 gift certificate to one of our sponsors from Troller Games, and also. Because Troy Cannibal won the Thursday night 25 Miniature Building Authority, he put it back in the kitty. So, because Troy's such a great guy, and so we're going to re-give that away tonight. Sound good, everyone? And last call for signups, and I'll draw the 2 winners. Gift certificates are easy. I just email the code, So they're the easiest ones. Cool, Mike. Good to see you. Oh, and so next Thursday, real quick. It's a Art of Mike Disney / Gamescape 3D, 2 of our sponsors giveaways. So something from Mike Disney will be given away, and something from our 3D print company Gamescape on Thursday night. All right, note that. We got 2 sponsors we're going to do on Thursday. All right. Good. I can't even pronounce that. See, that's in South Jersey. Closing it out.
Yeah.
First winner. You got to be on to claim it. You get your choice. Troller Games or Miniature Building Authority. They're $25 each. Okay, and the other winner will get this. Mattias. There you go, Mattias. You asked a lot of good questions tonight, so you are rewarded. Which one do you want, Mattias? Would you like the Miniature Building Authority or Troller Games 25? Which one, Mattias? Tell me. The second winner will get the one Mattias doesn't choose, and then the second winner is Morpheus. All right. Both asked questions tonight. All right. Mattias, you get Troller Games. Morpheus, you get Miniature Building Authority. And thank you. Jeff, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
so very much.
Happy 150th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Yes, it's been a cool 3 years so far, and we're really starting to roll now. The entire Greyhawk community has come together. We've probably got 8 to 10 streamers now. We have a Cannon Fire Discord. We have Virtual Greyhawk Con. We have great bloggers and a lot of great Facebook groups, and it's all kind of working all together, which is makes it such a special time. All right, who am I rating into tonight, everyone? Oh, I didn't even check. We got to raid into someone. Someone throw me an idea.
Twitch things to raid.
Yeah, you want to raid your audience into another.
You bring your audience over to another channel at the end.
Yeah,
so,
and a podcast too. Was Wiley and Mattias are doing that.
Oh yes,
too.
they're coming. A great.
Yeah,
cast.
I'm not doing Dragon Sorrows. Sorry about that. He's doing a board game, so I'm gonna. Not 20 shows on.
Dragon in the dining room was not someone.
No, he's not participating in the. Yeah, I'm gonna do Nat 20 show.
Okay.
Why not?
Yep.
Why not? So I'm gonna do Nat 20 show. So we'll see everyone on. Got a couple of days off, Anna. It's been a long week.
Yeah, you
oh my
streamed
gosh.
almost every day. Or
yeah,
twice
we had
a day,
the Finns on yesterday in the morning. I forgot for Living Greyhawk.
Yeah.
So Reaper's on. I don't see Reaper on Mac. I don't see Reaper, and they're not on. Reaper Miniatures is on? Yeah, let's do Nat 20. We'll do Nat 20. All right.
Okay.
Everyone let me hit the right button, because Jeff, I'm known for hitting the wrong buttons all the time.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see everyone Wednesday, Jeff. Thank you so very much, and have a
Take
great
care.
night.
Yeah,
And
thank
talk to you
you.
soon. Boom.
Okay.
Let's see if what. Yep.
Yeah, we got some music, got a raid, and we'll do Nat 20 show. Why not? They're good. Nat 20 show. Let's see if this works. Raid the channel. Boom. Starting up the raid. See if we can get 75 to 100 people going in.
Yeah, 46.
Yeah, it's gonna chunk up a lot. There we go. 82, 83. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a large one. 83 viewers. 84, 85. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say hello to them over there. Support them. Have a great night. Boom. Raid's in.
Yep. Right.
The wonders of Twitch, Jeff.
We're not,
Yeah.
we are not broadcasting anymore.
We're done.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Awesome.
So I have to ask, how big was the house?
It was huge.
How many people did we get?
I can check you analytics.
Probably about 150 or something like that.
Wow.